We started. So today we'll talk today and tomorrow. Today and tomorrow we want to talk about some image processing in cells, right? So today and tomorrow we'll talk about image processing in cells, topics we haven't seen yet, or UI elements we haven't seen yet. We haven't seen the UI activity indicator view. So we'll see what that looks like today, where the user is waiting for a download of an image and we'll present them an activity indicator monitoring that download. With images in cells, there's some problems we have to solve. We might not get to solve them today and tomorrow, but we'll start seeing that there's problems there we need to solve. Part of those problems are the image will flicker, right? Your images in your table views. Anybody has images in table views yet, right? You saw that flicker, right, Matt? Matt is shaking his head, right? It's flickering because of what? Why is it flickering? Anybody? Why is it flickering? Multiple fetches, but by design, the table view uses cells, right? So it reuses cells, it just uses any cell for any image, right? There's no way for us to track that. We could track it, which we'll start doing today. That way it doesn't flicker, right? Because right now with DQ reusable cell, it grabs any cell, it places an image on it. Grabs the next cell, places an image on it, it's gonna flicker, flicker, flicker until the table view itself stops and it knows exactly what image is needed, okay? So that's part of dequeuing reusable cell. That actually causes that error from happening, the next part or problem we'll solve is I don't want to hit the network every time I'm making an image request, right? Every time right now that we load our table view, we're making a next network request. So that's the next problem we'll solve either today or as we talk about Unit 4. That's more like a persistent issue. We could save the files or save the images or cache. The technical term is caching the image. So not every time I have to go back to the network and be like, hey, I need a new image because I have the image already locally. So why should I go back to the network? So that's like problem 2. Problem 3 is easier. We'll just have a simple indicator. You never want to load something, the user is waiting, and you don't give them some visual feedback. Always give that user some visual feedback. So we'll address number 1 and number 2 today. And number 1 and number 3 today. Number 2 is more in depth. Number 2, I was gonna solve it with us using NSCache, but I rather solve it with us using the caches directory. But we haven't seen persistence, and I don't want to introduce persistence right now, right? So I'll introduce persistence in Unit 4 and show us how to save images in the caches directory. And the caches directory is where you want to save any sort of storage that's temporary. If it's temporary, you want to put it in the caches directory. So we'll start seeing what that looks like in Unit 4, right? I don't want to start showing that and we haven't seen post yet. Post is more important than caching right now. Everybody with me? Okay? But we will see how to do problem 2 later in Unit 4. So either you could do NSCache, you could do both together, by the way. NSCache will cache it in memory, but the caches directory saves it to disk. But that's how you would save the images. From every time you get to that image, you make a network request. So that's where we headed. But today and tomorrow we'll take care of the flickering, and of adding an indicator, an activity indicator. So let's jump into code. Go to Xcode and let's create a new project. Create a new project, single view application. We'll call it Astronomy Photos. Keep unit test on there. We still haven't tested asynchronous calls. So we'll do that at some point, but I want to show us what that looks like. But keep unit test on. Astronomy Photos is the name of the project. Create. The beach ball is back. Yeah, I need to get it back ASAP. It's bad. The beach ball? What? Oh, astronomy photos. No, we're making fun of the beach ball. Astronomy photos. Astronomy photos needs a network helper and an app error. Something else I might work on the weekend on the project on, maybe making a CocoaPod or something for us. Okay. Preferences. Preferences are good. Our project needs to talk to the network. So we need a network helper and we need an app error at minimum. So we'll go ahead, we'll get a network helper and an app error. So I'll actually create two files here. I'll create a Swift file. So create a Swift file and call it network helper. Network helper. All right. And create a next file, call it app error. Network helper app error. That gives us enough to talk to the outside world. Now let's go get a network helper. You guys have a network helper, right? From our network helper Friday. Was it Friday? Yeah, it was Friday. So network helper, what we need is our network helper class. Yeah. The instructor gave you permission to do it. So we could copy paste here. Yes, we can. This one class. So network helper we need. What do we say about when we're not here? I did post it online, correct? On Slack. It's there, but it's gonna be stacked. It's gonna be stacked. But when we're not there, everything is there, right? And I want to stop here for a second because Chelsea made me. We all have access to the resources, right? Right? When we're not here, we go to this lecture resources that Chelsea has, right? And somebody really put them together here. I could go to Unit 3 and see where we stopped.
Who was somebody?
Right? I don't know, an elf somewhere. Right? I mean, I do the thing, but yeah. Unit 3 is all documented. So I go here, Chelsea, right? You have this bookmarked, right? Lecture resources. So if it's not updated, then you say, hey, Alex, you did not update it. But Alex makes sure that it does get updated every end of day. And here is our network helper.
Real quick though, network helper, I not only check the but I also have somebody else check it. And every time that I try to open it, it just says no network for all the time. So I'll have to difficult.
Those things you need to come to us for. Like if you have some Xcode thing, come to us really quickly for it. Cool? So we need network helper and we need app error. So just grab the app error here. My intention is to at some point make this a framework that we import, right? So maybe that's a good holiday project for me. Always looking forward to a holiday project. So this is going to be like a project where we just import, the same way we say import foundation, we could just say import network helper. All right, so let's go to our app error and paste this in, build it, make sure you have no errors. So far we have our network helper and our app error, that's it. And what is our app about? Our app will basically get the images from the NASA's website to populate our table view with images. That's the goal of our app. And let's go to our view controller and get those images. We have the images in Slack. Go to your view controller, go to Slack, and get the images that we have here. Take the Flutter Clock Challenge. Who's in? Go ahead and grab in these image URLs and paste it in right here. We seem to be doing a lot of copy paste today. Go back to Slack. Do you see the image URLs there in Slack? Yeah, from the closing square bracket to the let image URLs. You see it? Grab that and go into the view controller. Put it right above view did load. right above view did load. Cool. Okay, that's good. All right. What do we need? We need a table view. That's it. That's all we need. We need a table view and no refresh control right now, just a table view. Table view, custom cell, image view, and a UI activity indicator. So let's go to our storyboard. Did everybody copy the image URLs into the project? Okay, cool. Let's go to our storyboard. Storyboard. Embed our view controller in a nav bar. Embed my view controller in a nav bar. Great. Next, drag in a table view. Bless you. Next, drag in a table view over to my view controller and set the constraints to 0, top, bottom, leading, and trailing. This is my table view, and I'm setting the constraints, add constraints, 0 everywhere. Great. Next, prototype cell, add one prototype cell. One prototype cell. You could drag the cell down a little bit, so we'll add an image view in there. One prototype cell, reuse identifier. Reuse identifier, simply call it photo cell. Simply call it photo cell. We need to create a class for it. But for now, go ahead and get an image view. Get an image view, drag it to the cell. Image view, drag it to the cell. Great. And set the constraints for the image view. So add constraints and 0 all around for the image view. Okay, cool. Cool. Next up, let's go create a cell. So file, new file, or Command N. Create a new file. It's going to be a Cocoa Touch class. It's going to be a subclass of UI table view cell. Subclass of UI. Luba, question? Luba? Sorry, Julia. Question? All right. What are we going to call this? Let's call this Planet Cell. Planet Cell is a subclass of UI table view cell. And click on Next. And click on Create. Great. Cool. Take all that boilerplate code out. That's all we have. We expect to get an image, so we'll put in image view here, IB outlet, weak var. Look at that, weak var. What's weak var? Weak var planet image view, and we'll have a configure cell. Configure cell with URL string. Cool. All right, let's connect our cell. So get to your assistant editor. And let's change the class for the cell. So get to storyboard, get to your cell, select your cell, go to the identity inspector, select your cell, make sure you select the cell, make sure your cell is selected, go to your identity inspector, and what are we changing the cell to? Planet cell, very good. and press enter. Make sure to press enter so the module is selected. And now we could not control drag, but rather we could drag our image view directly to our cell. And now our cell has the image view. Any questions so far? All good. All good. Okay. We could go a couple of ways here. We could make our cell, we could use Network Helper in our cell to get an image, but what if we have multiple cells, right? Then we have to do that same code everywhere, right? So what we'll do, we'll create an extension on Uiimageview to handle that for us. We'll create an extension on Uiimageview that gives us an activity indicator. The activity indicator is that progress indicator that circulates when the user is expecting the download to happen. So we'll make the image view have an activity indicator, and we'll pass that image view in that function. We'll pass it the URL, and it will set up itself. Okay? So instead of like coupling it to one cell, we'll decouple it into an extension on Uiimageview. So that Uiimageview, we could use it on anything. We could use it on a detail view. We could use it on a cell. We could use it on a button. Okay? So we'll create an extension on Uiimageview. So file, new file. If I'm creating an extension, I start out with a Swift file. So Swift file, click next, and let's go ahead and give it a name. So I'll say Uiimageview plus extensions for now. And plus extensions is a convention that we use when we extend in a type. You could give it a name, like I could say Uiimageview data, for example. But here we simply say extensions. It implies it is an extension on Uiimageview. The more extensions we write, the more use cases we'll have. One, like for example, view controller very soon. We'll have an extension on our view controller called alerts, where there's different types of alerts on a view controller. Yes, it's a Swift file. And now I click on create and close out of this, open this, close this. Okay, so if I'm extending the class, I need to start out with extension. So I'm extending Uiimageview. I need UIKit. So remove foundation and go to UIKit. I'm extending image view to basically do one thing for me. When I pass it a URL, it gives me back either an image or an error. Okay? That's all I need. So what do we need here? We'll start out by saying, what is it going to be? Is it going to be static? No, it's not going to be static. It's going to be an instance method. So instance method works on the instance, right? So here we will have a function called setImage. SetImage takes in a URL. So setImage, I could say with URL string. It's a string. And this also has a completion handler. What does my completion handler need? Escaping, right? Kelby, right? On my completion handler, I need to mark it escaping because my network helper makes a request and the function returns before my closure is done, right? Tiffany, who you texted?
It's word it's not
Okay, I'm looking at you. Okay, so here we have our completion handler. It takes a closure. And here we'll have some sort of result type. Result type, again, is a generic. We'll talk more about generics on Wednesday. Here we expect an image or some app error. We know where app error is coming from, right? App error is coming from the class we run on Friday, right, everybody? Not the class rather, but the enum that we wrote on Friday. This is where our app error is coming from. Cool. Let's get into the activity indicator. So configure UI activity indicator view. The UI activity indicator view is this progress circle that we see in applications. Most times there might be custom, right? There might be a custom control you see, but at the end of the day, Apple gives us this UI activity indicator. It circles around until our image is back, right? So it gives that user that visual feedback, something is downloading, right? Some progress is happening. So we have this progress indicator. So we'll configure one, we'll create one in code. This is the first piece of code we write in, all in code. There's no storyboard there. We'll be doing all that programmatic. So let's start out. So we'll say let activity indicator equal to UI activity indicator view. It has an initializer. We won't use the frame. We'll use the initializer with style. So there's a bunch of initializers. There's a default initializer, initializer from Coda, initializer with frame. We're going after initializer with style. We want to give it a particular style. There's a large, right? There's a medium, and so forth. So select the one with style, type in dot, and we want a large one, a nice large indicator, a nice large circle. So select large. We could also give it a color. So next up, we could say, you could give it the color you want. Feel free here. For some reason, I like orange. Okay. Next up, what do we need? Activity indicator, that's it. Oh, we need to set it up. So activity indicator, the center of it. The center of the activity indicator will be the center of the cell. Everybody with me? That indicator, the position of it will be the same as the center of the cell, directly at the center of the cell. Let me see, 1 second. So the activity indicator will be similar to the one I have here. Do we all see that? The orange indicator there? Right? So I give it a color orange. I'm saying I'm positioning it at the center of the cell. Okay, everybody? Cool. All right, so let's move on. So center of this will be center. And again, center here implies center of the view, center of the UI image view. So far we haven't added it. Visualize, this is the first programmable UI we're doing. Visualize, you take an activity indicator from the library, you position it on your scene in Storyboard. The positioning in Storyboard is adding it to the scene. So we're adding it to the scene by dragging it over, correct? I want a button, I drag it over to my scene, correct? But in code, you have to say adding that view to your subview. So in the code, we haven't added it unless we say add to subview. So what I want to say here is add subview, the activity indicator. So this adds the view to the image view. It adds the, is it here? Right, this code here, add subview. The add subview, this particular view here, it adds it to the image view. So if we have our image view here, let me go back here. If I have my image view, I get, come on. I get a view from my fancy, I know. Fancy, but it doesn't work. What's happening? Forget it. Okay, there we go. So if I have my indicator that I dragged in from Storyboard, from the view, from the object library, correct? When I go ahead and I drag it over to my scene, that's add subview. Everybody with me? Add subview is that action. But in code, I say add subview. In Storyboard, I simply drag over. Okay, cool. So this is add subview. So you haven't added it unless you say explicitly add subview. And that add subview there is self. I'm not going to type in self, but self here is the image view itself. Everybody? I'm not going to, please don't submit code like this. We don't need self here. Okay? Where you don't need self, you don't use it. So now we added it to the subview. This is all great. Let's go on with the rest of our function. Okay, now we could use network helper here. So network helper dot shared. What's that shared again? Cassandra? That's where we start losing like what's in network helper, right? Because we have this class, it just automatically works for us to get us data. Right, and the terminology, the design pattern here is a singleton. So shared is a singleton that we did on Friday. It gives us access to this network helper because right now network helper, its initializer is private. The nature of a singleton, all public initializers are private. The only way you access them is through this shared instance. Here we call it shared because this is Apple convention of naming singletons. Shared, default, main. Those are examples of singleton names we have. So here shared gives us access to this method or our methods with this instance. So the method we're after is called perform data task. Perform data task is a method we wrote also on Friday. It takes in some URL. Here we'll pass in the URL the user passed in and takes in a completion. So for the completion, we have a result. What is result here? What data type is result? A what? It's an enum, right? It's an enum. It's a result type. It's a result is the name of it. It's an enum. It has how many cases? 2 cases. We have failure or we have success. Correct? And how do we access an enum? With a switch. So all those go hand in hand, right? So I have my result. I switch on it to find out what is it. Is it an error or is it a success, right? So here I could simply say switch on my result. And here we always look for errors first. So here I say failure. And I unwrap the failure using a let here. I could use a var, but there's no reason to use a var if you're not changing the value. So I'll simply say let app error. And here, what are we going to do? We're going to say completion, return failure. I'll say network client error. And next we have our success. If success, we got data back. I'll stop a second right here. Yulia, go ahead. Oh, sorry, this is app error. Okay, you were saying why do, if you need to get access, remember it's an associated value. This let app error here, it's an associated value. If you want to get the value, you have to either use a let or a var to unwrap it, not unwrap it, to unbox it, right? To unbox it from that associated value. And the associated value is very similar to our app error here. If you look at our app error, we have an associated value on bad URL, Julia, right? If we capture the string from the bad URL, we could unwrap it or unbox it using a let string, for example. That's an associated value, right? But the enum has associated value, it has an error, or it has the success data or whatever object it is. Question? I want you to go back and read associated values. Please. Associated values are used a lot. Like, let's go back and see that again in the Swift documentation there. Read it again. Go through a simple example of creating a simple enum. We could actually point you guys back to the labs where we had that enum lab there. I would go back and do it. Julia? Cool? Make a note for yourself to go back and revisit that lab. That's a good one there. All right, so let's go back here. So case success, that data. If we have data, that's awesome. Keep in mind our network helper, what's the use case of it? It gives us back data. And data, we could create an image from it. We could create a Swift model from it. Yes? So instead of like rewriting URL session every time we have an app, we could just use the network helper for it. But keep in mind that you need to know how to use network helper without network helper. Well, keep in mind that you need to use URL session without network helper when it comes to finding a job. Okay? Don't be clinging on to network helper there. It's nice to use, it's great, but know how it works. As a matter of fact, get in the habit of writing your own once in a while. Right? Okay, cool. So data is great. We have data. So what do we need? We need an image. How do we create an image? Somebody help me here. I want to create an image. How do I create an image from data? Mr. Cameron. Oh, Cassandra, go ahead. Let image equal to UI image. Yes. Everybody sees that, right? Cassandra is a UI image expert. Go to Cassandra for your data needs. So here we have an image. We created it from the initializer of a UI image. UI image has a data initializer. It takes in data. It returns us an image. Thank you, Cassandra. Right, everybody? Yes? Okay, cool. But let's not stop here. What are we returning? We're not returning it. We're returning an optional. That's an optional. We don't want to return an optional. So let's unwrap it. If let da da da. And then here we'll simply say completion, success, completion success, and then just return the image. Cool. So I think our extension is pretty much done. If there's anything else we need to start. Oh, it's not done. Ha! What's not done about it? Dispatch queue is one thing. That'll come up later. But what else? The activity indicator. What is it supposed to do? The activity indicator, we want it to start whenever this function gets called, whenever this function gets called, we want to start the spinning. The activity indicator shows the user some load is happening. So we want to start it out by simply saying activity indicator dot start animating. Start animating, it starts the animation of the progress indicator. So you want to start that. I want to stop it. When am I stopping it? Right, I'm going to stop it in the completion handler here. Question for the audience. Answer, daily double. Background, right? I heard two backgrounds. Tiffany, what are we on? Are we on the main thread? Are we on the global background thread? Yeah. At line 28, where am I? Because I'm about to update some UI. I'm getting ready to update. I'm on the main thread right now, right? So I could simply say, what's it called? I could simply say activity indicator dot stop animating. Yeah. Fair. But I'm about to update some UI. What does UI get updated? On the main thread. What thread am I on right now? That's a fair question. I'm on the main thread. I'm on the background thread. Yes, because I'm in the network helper. The network helper itself is an asynchronous call. It's on a global thread. So here I need to say dispatch queue dot main.
I wasn't here for this.
You keep saying you're not here.
No, I'm just saying. So as you're saying this, I'm getting it now. So
That's not even Friday though.
I wasn't here.
Okay.
I didn't come until later on.
Is it part of the URL session?
Yes.
Okay, so like that, alright.
Yeah, the whole thing is on the synchronous call right now. The whole thing is on the background.
Whenever something's done in the URL session.
Yeah. Yeah, it's asynchronous. Madam, no more I'm not here, I did not, right? Those things are gone, right? Because somebody takes care of all the resources on one place.
Yes, I do understand. But it's not that you don't put it there. It's being able to
I see you. I see you.
That's all.
I'm still looking at you though.
But it's fine, it's fine. It's gonna get better. But my question will actually be.
Your question, go for it. Where did I unwrap? What did I unwrap? What? You asking a question? What did I unwrap? What? UI image. Oh, it's unwrapped right here. It's right there. It's still on screen. I haven't navigated away. Still on screen. Okay. What are we doing here? We have activity indicator. We just spoke about memory management. Is that enough? Can we just stop here?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. I mean, you said can.
Okay, that's valid. We can.
Yeah.
But the activity indicator looks like it has a strong reference to a closure. Right? Yes, maybe?
Yeah.
So we could break it? How can we break it? How can we break that strong cycle? Euler says put something weak. I agree. That's a start. So we'll say we'll use a weak close. We'll use a weak capture list here, and we'll say activity. What's it called? Activity indicator. Activity indicator. What do I have here? You could change it. What am I? Unresolved identifier. Am I spelling this wrong? Activity indicator. Can spell. That's part of school. Copy paste helps though. So here we have weak activity indicator. We don't want to create a strong reference cycle between the activity indicator and this closure we're about to capture. Look, we're about to capture activity indicator in a closure, right? Anytime you catch yourself doing that, stop and see either you use weak or unknown. Here we want to use a weak because the activity indicator and the closure doesn't have the same lifespan. Everybody with me? And then here we want to change this to an optional. Optional. Cool. So I could sleep better now, knowing that I'm not creating memory leaks. Okay, so let's go back again. Mr. Eric, can you see everything on screen now? All right, cool. Let's keep going. So now our activity indicator stopped, but we cannot stop here. We have to fix this line of code. This needs to be on a dispatch queue, that main, exactly. That async here, and do this here. All right, now we're good. Now we know we're updating UI. This is UI. Activity indicator is a UI element. Starts out with what? UI activity indicator. We're about to update it here because we're about to say, hey, when the completion comes back, stop. Stop the activity, stop yourself from spinning. When it stops, it gets hidden automatically. We don't have to say stop and hide. When we say stop, it gets hidden. When we say start, it presents itself. Everybody with me? There's nothing else we need to do there. Okay. If we write everything correctly, you should be able to reuse this extension for any UI image that you're accessing. Let's go and use it in the cell. So let's go back to the cell. Cell, planet cell here. Okay, let's use it here. So we have a URL coming in, and we have our planet image. So we say planet image. I'm in the planet cell. My image view has an extension on it. What does an extension do? The extension extends that class. It adds more functionality, more functions to that particular class. Here we added a function called, what's the function called? Set image, right? We just wrote a set image, right? Everybody, if we go back to our extension, what is our function called? Eric, what's my function called? Set image, right? So on any image view, I could say set image. Again, on any image view, I could say set image. Right now, image view is as if it came with the set image function. Everybody? Okay, so here I say set image, and then the image needs a URL. So I pass in a URL string. My completion is still my result type here.
Can we go back to the seven functions of my function?
One second. So here we have our set image, and let's switch on it. Switch on result. At this point, we're getting comfortable with this, right? Yulia? Using a case switch on the result type. We check for failure first. Here we have some error. Well, I want to show us something. Not every time you have to unbox your associated value. It's up to you. If you want to say let app error. But here, what we'll say is simply do planet image dot image equal to UI image system, and then we'll just put in like a person dot fill here, just to show us what else we could do. So here, if it's an error, I'll simply, and we know if we start typing self, what that means. What does that mean if I start typing self explicitly? Reference, right? We're about to create a strong reference. So we'll come back and take care of that. And next we have success. That's what we really need. So we're here, we'll say let image. And here we'll say self dot planet dot image equal to UI image, not UI image, but just image. And Xcode crashed? No, it didn't. False alarm. All right, we have a bunch of stuff we need to take care of here. We're still on the background thread, so this needs to be in a dispatch. This needs to be in a dispatch. But let's just stop for a second. So here we use the image variable or constant. We unpack it. We unboxed it. If you don't need to use it, you simply don't unbox it. I don't say let app error. But if I want to use the app error, I say let app error. Everybody with me? But if I have an error, I'll just put in some default image. Okay? But let's go ahead, and we know this is not good. We know we need to go on a dispatch queue here. So let's go on a dispatch queue because we're still on the background.
I'm sorry, how do you know when okay, so
No, go ahead.
so you just kind of double check with its main thread on your stuff whenever you're calling these network output functions?
By default, URL session is on the background.
Right.
So we're still on the background here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
You don't have to do is main thread. No.
I mean, it's just the double check while you're working.
Oh, yeah. Anytime you're doing UI, just double check, hey, where am I? Because you're about to do UI.
Got it.
Yeah. That's good. And then for this guy, still main here, dispatch, main, because we're about to do UI stuff. Cool. I think we'll be able to get our images.
Do you have to do it with, inside the cases? Can you do it outside of the switch?
You could do it outside the switch if it's just one image. That's fine. Oh, you mean outside the switch? Wait.
Because you have the dispatch queue inside each case.
Outside the case. Each case is different. Like this one is in a different image. This one is in a different image.
Oh. Right.
They're not the same image. No.
Okay, cool.
I saw what you said. No, different images. Cool. How are we doing? Can we move on to the view controller? Go back to the set image function. Definitely. Set image function. This guy. What part?
I'm not sure. It's not working on
It's not working. What's the error?
the other than heading from is the value of
UI image. Do a build. You definitely imported UI kit, right? So what are you storing here? Make sure all your components are inside the function. Make sure they're all inside the function, right? Everything is inside the function. The let activity indicator is inside the function.
As mentioned, I had an ID other than that, and I took it out, but there's one last warning for the network company, where it says variable activity indicator is written to but never read.
Activity indicator we used here. We used it here, and make sure that you add it to the subview here, and you start animating here. And the dispatch queue, we stopped it. So when the closure comes back, we stop it. Cool? So for other people, start creating a table view in your view controller. Madam, you're on your phone, huh? We gotta have that talk. Okay. Go to your view controller, create a table view, create the methods for it, and let's see if we could get images populating in the next 10 minutes, I believe. Like Polar Express. Yulia, question. What is your error? What do you say? It says an error. What do you say? You trying to use some method that's deprecated? Image, what do you have image? It doesn't know about image anymore. The success you have on box the success. Yes. Yeah. Always remember that's I want you to go back to that lab for sure. Okay, let's go back to the view controller and let's set up a table view. View controller, table view. View controller, table view, yes? With var table view is UI table view. Everybody back in the view controller, right? We have a table view. We have our image URLs. We'll connect our table view now before we forget. Assistant, editor, get my storyboard up. Get to my view controller. Make sure you connect your table view by dragging over. Okay, cool. And let's keep writing the boilerplate table view code that we all know by heart by now, right? Yes? Yulia, what's next? In my video load, what am I doing with my table view? Reload data. I'll say data source equals self. Cool. Next up, I will say for the image URLs, I'll simply do, let's come back to that. Now we write our extension on our view controller. My extension on my view controller conforms to UI table view data source. What is one of the functions I need? Number of rows. What am I returning? What's my data here? Count of. Thank you. Very good. So here I return number of URLs. Then I go on to cell for row. And here I have a custom cell that I'm using. So I'll use guard. Let, just call it cell here. And my cell is table view. I dequeued the table view cell with identifier. What's our cell prototype name? The use identifier? For the cell, very good. Index path here. And I'm downcasting it to what type? Planet cell, thank you, sir. And here, this is one of the places you could crash, or you will crash, or you should crash. Because at this point, I could not dequeue a planet cell. So I need to verify, is it my storyboard? Is it the cell? Like, what is going wrong? If I do have a cell, great. Let us get an image or an image. Image we will get, how do we access image? Shania, how do I access an image?
The image from where we get it.
This is my main data point, right? How do I access an image now? So image URLs, which is the array. On the array, what do I say?
The bracket and
Index path, right? Cool. And I say row here. Great. And now I have my image. Well, this should be called image URL. And then on my cell, I have a configure on it. I simply say configure cell with image URL. Like that. Missing return, needed to return your cell. While we're here, create a next extension on the table view delegate to return a height. So here we have UI table view delegate, and we return height. So type in height, height for row, type in height for row, and return 400. If you're done, make sure to set your delegate in the view load. So go table view that delegate equals self, or else this 400 number will not get returned. So make sure you have table view data source and table view delegate in view load. And at this point, you should be able to run your app, right? If you're done and get some sort of image. Image? Nice. The flickering is still going to happen because we haven't finished that yet. We'll continue on that tomorrow. But you should be able to get images. Yeah, the flickering will still happen. Oh, and change aspect fill. Change aspect fill on your image view. So change to aspect fill, make sure delegate is set, and tomorrow we'll address the flickering. You could go to storyboard, click on the image, and then go to attribute inspector and change it to aspect fill. So it takes the entire frame. How are we doing? Can we go up to the view load? Tanya?
So what are those three problems?
We fixed so far only the activity indicator. Yeah. So let's go up to our viewed load here. Images in table views is one of those things, it's more work than just like a simple one image on a detail view. There's like the dequeuing thing you need to worry about. There's like, should I set myself? Or there's a bunch of stuff there. So table view that delegate equals self. Make sure we have that, right? And the last thing we need to do is go to storyboard and change it to aspect fill as opposed to aspect fit. So go to storyboard, and click on the image. No, that's part of the problem. Yeah. So before I solve it, it's like image roulette. Yeah, image roulette. Okay. So click on your image and change it to aspect fill and run the app. Run your app. That's a good question. I think it's 4,000 by something.
Yeah, that's probably like
It's also a memory hog.
that's so slow.
Yeah, it's also gonna take. Why am I writing on my iPad? iPad. Uh, there's a lot to images. Why isn't this center? Is your center?
Mine is.
It's off center.
Whenever it's not loaded.
Let me
Whenever
run
it
it.
loads the photo,
Mm-hmm.
it's not. It's off center.
Let me see that. Sorry. So storyboard image view should be aspect fill. And then run the app and let's see what we have. Shania, how you doing? Your app is running? Okay, your Xcode. Tiffany, how you doing?
It's working.
Okay.
Aspect fill doesn't change to filling the whole entire.
It should.
No, I have some of them doing something like this portrait mode.
Okay, so images are loading, right? Images are loading. Images are loading. It's not flickering as I want to show, but yeah, if you scroll up and down, you see what I'm doing, right? What I'm talking about. So tomorrow we'll look at more how to make it not flicker, right? So tomorrow we'll address the flickering part of it. But today we are able to use our network helper to show us images. Okay, that's step one. Step two, we show the user an activity indicator while the images are loading. And then we'll address the flickering tomorrow. And if we have time between talking about post, we might talk about caching. But I don't want to talk about caching before post. Caching is every time I'm. Where's everybody? Everybody's. We'll talk about caching tomorrow, where I don't want to hit the network every time I come across a URL. If I come across the same URL, I should be using a cache image. Any questions? Cameron, you good? Marjette?
Activity indicators like that.
Yeah, the wheel. And then that wheel, we added it in the image view. Everybody? Say that again. We added it right here. We added this activity indicator here. Okay? Cool? All right. Any more questions? Again, Network Helper is very useful for doing quick programming, but understand the fundamentals of it. Understand how it works, always. Okay, so we'll stop here if there's no more questions. And tomorrow, somebody's going to show me the flickering, how it's not working, how it's working, right? Somebody's going to fix flickering tomorrow? Yeah? What's that? Yeah, on the mini to-dos. All right, so we'll stop here.